Yes, yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this breakout session. I'm Kat Kristen. I coordinate the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship, and glad you could join us on this beautiful September day. We are going to do, I'm going to do a quick overview of the program, and then we have 3 fellows with us today to share their stories as well. And then we're going to leave some time for Q&A at the end. So feel free to go ahead and at any time, like Rachel said, and put your questions in the chat, and we will get to them at the end.
Yeah, I would also say feel free to introduce yourself in the chat too.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
You can say where you're from. We can kind of chit chat a little bit in the chat.
Yeah, it'd also be, I'm happy to hear, if people are gardeners or farmers, or, what their experience is, is with plants and growing. That's always helpful and fun to hear. So yeah, so welcome to our breakout session. I am going to give an overview, like I mentioned, and we are the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship. We started as a pilot project here at Agraria Center for Regenerative Practice in April, and we're a 25-week program that runs until October. So we're nearing the end of our first year. So it's fun to share with you kind of what we've done so far and where we're at. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, bear with me. I'm still learning Zoom presentations. So this is, kind of a series for those of you who can see the screen of the program goals that we have for the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship. We have 6 fellows currently in this program, and the point is to support these growers in building capacity on their own sites, and that includes infrastructure as well as knowledge and skills. In addition, we tour successful farms, so there's a lot of amazing regenerative small farms around us and small growing projects that are consistent with the growers' goals, and so we've been able to visit a bunch of small farms and gardens also. Another one of our goals is to network and connect. So really thinking about like what are the other related organizations that can support growers, and including like business planning as well as like with regenerative practices and thinking about setting up processes and how you go about starting a farm and farm businesses and gardens. We also are doing a series of regenerative agriculture focused workshops. So we get together once a week and base and follow a certain topic, and those topics are decided by the surveys we shared with the fellows in the beginning of the program, as well as kind of regular feedback and what fellows are interested in learning. So we get together once a week, and then the rest of the week the growers actually spend time following their own goals, so building capacity on their own sites, like I mentioned. So one of the really unique features of this program is that it specifically supports BIPOC growers, so Black, Indigenous, and people of color. In addition, it stipends the fellows, which I think is really crucial in supporting underrepresented farmers and new growers, because who can kind of enter farming at this point? It does take some capital and some resources. So, the idea that you have to be independently wealthy to become a farmer, is a flawed concept in supporting growers. So stipending growers and supporting their goals in the first year has been a really nice feature of the program. Yeah, so here's some examples of some of the workshops we've been doing at different sites. So compost and soil building, medicinal plants and value-added products, small farm equipment, seed starting, and regenerative pest control. So these are some of the topics that we cover. We do a lot of very hands-on practical, here's the, kind of the farmer take on these processes and the practical knowledge that kind of comes with that. We're sharing those things. This is our first cohort, 2021 cohort. We have, like I said, 6 growers. And there is, if you can see the slide, they grow across Springfield, Trotwood, and Dayton. So it's a regional growing sites across our region, which is pretty exciting. And they are mostly Black women and all women. So that's also exciting. And they range from 50 years from youngest to oldest. So we have a lot of levels of experience and skill and age within our group. And I'll also mention that, as you notice, it is a cohort of 6, so it's a nice small group, which has really allowed us to adjust kind of what we're doing to the participant goals and preferences, and really kind of have a more intimate group setting than a larger group, would allow. So the next steps. We are nearing the end of our program. So the next steps, we hope to really get good feedback from the fellows and create an application process to take some applicants for the 2022 year cohort, and run the fellowship again next year from April to October and support 6 new growers that are interested in participating. So that's pretty exciting. We also hope to, over the winter, do a monthly skills share. So after the program ends in October, to have a chance to share out some of the knowledge and skills that we've learned, and also be in touch over the winter season as we're planning our next growing seasons. So that's kind of upcoming next with the program. So yeah, so I want to, from here, I want to go ahead and pass off this presentation to Kanisha Robinson, who is a program assistant for the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship, as well as a beginning farmer in the program. And she's going to share her story with you. I'm going to just turn off my camera for just a minute to pass it to her, so bear with us. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Hi, and welcome to everyone. My name is Kanisha Robinson, as Kat mentioned, and I am the program assistant for the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship, as well as a participant in the program. I am a second-year produce grower. I actually grew up on a farm outside of Dayton in Trotwood, Ohio, and as I was growing up on that farm, I wasn't really interested in farming. I wasn't really encouraged to farm. I took another route. My family didn't think that it was, they wanted different for me. And so that's the direction that I went into. But the initial interest in farming came when I started helping a friend at the time who was interested in growing food for the community. And so from there, my interest in farming grew. So I'm actually growing on family-owned land, like I mentioned, in Trotwood, Ohio, and I'm doing small-scale farming on that site. And the reason why I joined this program was because of my desire to farm, and I feel like this program came at the most perfect time because I had just completed. 2020 was the first year that I started growing, and I just completed my first year of growing and had pretty much had some good success being a person who had never grown before in my life. So the training came along at the perfect time because I really needed to learn and figure out what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing that first year. I just had the desire. So also from that first year of growing, I decided that I wanted to restore the farm where I grew up. It had laid dormant for several years. My parents had gotten older, my dad had gotten sick and then passed away. And I am one of 5 children, and none of us really, no one else other than myself was interested in farming or using the land as it had been used before. So that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to join this program. And then I also joined it because of the focus in regenerative farming practices. So that really resonated with me, the regenerative farming part, because I just really believe that it's important for us not to just take from the land, but also to take care of the land and to give back to the land. So through this program, I learned a lot. This program has been going, we're coming on to our 5th month of being together. And some of the things that I've learned have really helped in this year's growing season. So I'll just share with you some of the things that I learned. I think one of the most important things that I learned was the importance of garden planning and the time saving benefit of that. Planning in the fall for what you're going to do in the spring, ordering seeds in December or January, as opposed to scrambling to find seeds in April when you have the idea that you're gonna grow. So that has been very helpful to me. One of the farmers that we visited shared a quote with us that I believe he may have gotten from somewhere else, but I can't remember exactly where. But he said the difference between gardening and farming is efficiency. And so that's one of the major takeaways from this program. The other thing that I learned is weed management. As a brand new farmer, and I think many first-year farmers we kind of underestimate the power of weeds and how quickly they can take over your space if you're not tending to them in the beginning. And so that's one of the things that I learned. And I learned a method this year from one of the farmers that we visited where I believe it's called the lasagna method. And so I used that method this year in my space because my space is in a big open field. And last year we just took over. So this year I tried that method, and I also tried a method of putting down fabric cover around the perimeter of my garden. And that worked absolutely perfectly. That was it's a lot of work in the beginning, but you save so much time throughout the course of the season. So that was another thing. Weed management is what I learned through the program. I also learned proper use of small scale farm tools and equipment, learning what kind of tools I needed to help me be more efficient in farming and growing. I also learned the importance of soil health and actually the connection between how healthy your soil is and how healthy your plants end up being. And I also learned that with the healthier your plants, the less pests you have. I had no idea about that. So that's another thing I learned. And I also learned that I can do it. I had no idea. It was something that I desired to do. It was something, that I kind of wanted to continue the legacy that my dad had left for us. And so I really didn't know if I could do it or not. I tried and loved it. And now through this program, I realized that I can actually do it and, possibly make a living from doing this. So I also want to share some of the goals and accomplishments that I was able to benefit from with this program, that sort of came about with this program. We visited a lot of different farms and made connections and were able to network with other farmers in the area, as well as with each other, because our group, everyone has a very there's a varying degree of knowledge and experience amongst our group. And so through this program, one of the things that came about was finding a mentor. So I was able to actually connect with one of the farmers and who has now become my mentor in helping me sort of think about, where I want to take the farm and this sort of profession in farming, how I want to take it further. I also started an LLC for the farm. So the name of the farm now is called An Organic Life Farm. It was listed in the previous slide, and so that actually came out of this program. I was able to successfully apply regenerative practices to my current vegetable and fruit production. And so I definitely have seen sort of the benefits of all the things that I've learned through this program. I think probably one of the biggest accomplishments this year is the taste of my produce. Last year, there were a lot of things that I just didn't know to do last year. And this year, I know the importance of using compost and fertilizer and all of those different things. And it really did have a tremendous, it made a difference in the actual quality of the vegetables and fruits that I grew this year. And then one of the goals that I have for next year is to expand my growing to include some herbs and a whole perennial area for next year. So that's me. That is my experience with the program. And now I will pass it along to my classmate, OC. So I'm going to, again, turn off this screen and pass it along. And thank you for your time.
Where's the little thingy at? There it is. Good afternoon, my name is Omope Carter Daboifu, but everybody here calls me OC because it's easier to pronounce than all three of that. I grew up in southern Ohio, which is part of north central Appalachia. Both lineages on my maternal and paternal sides all were agriculturalists and foragers, primarily for medicinals, and they also raised livestock before migrating to Ohio.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Are you meaning to be in a new slide?
Sorry. Hey,
There we go.
Yeah, my face is not Kanisha's face. It's this face. As I said, I'm from southern Ohio. I grew up in north central Appalachia. Both my families came to Ohio in the 1920s, and they were all farmers and foragers, particularly livestock raising and medicinal foraging. Why did I join the program? I joined the program because I had an opportunity to explore new vocabulary and current terminologies for growing practices that I was very familiar with. Both African retentions and indigenous systems were a part of the growing processes that I gained from my grandparents and from my mother. I've grown food ever since I can remember being able to stand up. So it was very easy to understand that seed plus sun plus water equals food. But those other things, the vocabulary, the language, the resources, helped me be able to communicate with others what we needed to do to enrich the soil and extend our earth wisdom to generations younger than ourselves. What have I learned from this process? Well, I've learned that my ancestors knew what they were doing, that they didn't necessarily have technical degrees, but they certainly had enough understanding of the universe and understood that stewardship of the land and being able to grow your own food was beneficial for your pocketbook and for your body. And so the classes that I've had have really re-informed me, or as one of my favorite writers says, has helped me remember that there's knowledge and wisdom that's been lodged in me that I am blessed to be able to share at this time in my life with people who are less experienced with food growing in their own upbringing. As I say, growing up on concrete is real different than playing over the hills and playing in dirt as a part of your childhood. So one of the things that I've come to understand through this experience is that even at my advanced age, my body has more capacity than I originally thought it had. Being able to walk fields and haul hoses and move equipment has been really, how can I say, reinvigorating of my confidence, because as you age, some of the things that you take pride in are no longer part of your inventory. One of the other things that I've learned is that small farm equipment is not small enough. It's small for a small farm, but understanding where my limitations are has been very important too, and being okay with that I cannot do all the labor, that there are people whose bodies are younger and more able, but that what I do have to share is just as valuable as my muscles would have been when I was a much younger person. What are some of the accomplishments? Well, being able to move from community gardening, I was recruited by Kenya Baker to come to the DeSoto Bass community in Dayton to help start a community garden. And from that work, one of the board members at Greater Edgemont Community Coalition, which sponsors the Edgemont Solar Garden, saw the work and said, "We need you at Edgemont." So they recruited me and I went, which is how I happened to find out about Agraria, because Edgemont was already in conversations with Agraria about partnering and the things that could be done together. During that period of time, Edgemont had a farm manager, but COVID issues and family issues drew her away to take care of other things. And they turned around and said, "Hey, Omofe, can you do this? We know you can. So do this." And because I knew in my heart, when I moved to Dayton in 2012, I was told that I would be working with food issues. And this was the manifestation of that prophecy. So I took the leap of faith and I joined the fellowship. I was very happy to do that. Through the experience at Edgemont, I've also been able to serve as the farm manager for the Central State Extension Service Incubator Farm in the Edgemont community. And I'm able to use the knowledge that I'm gaining and the vocabulary here from the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship to help supplement the teaching and the learning through Central State. It's been a journey. It's not been easy, but it's been fascinating. I have had some outstanding experiences that have led to my own amazement, like getting greenhouse tomatoes to bloom over winter and produce for 2 seasons, being able to harvest 5 cantaloupe last week from the greenhouse and share them with board members, and we all swear it's the best cantaloupe we've ever eaten. So for me, what comes next, what goals are next? One of the things that I've really valued out of this experience is the collaborative nature of the people that are involved. We care for each other and we plan our futures with each other. And we can see the continuation of this collective and actually being able to create a cooperative to create and market value-added products. I'm excited about that opportunity, particularly around food as medicine and herbals as complements, not only as herbs for cooking, but also for the maintenance of our bodies. The opportunity to see people willing to reinvoke shared labor and celebrate shared success has been very uplifting in this period of time that has been so fraught with anxiety. I'm very grateful for the experience. Some of them actually said to me, "Oh, it's wonderful to have a sage among us." And I don't think of myself as that. I just know that I've had a lot of experience, but this opportunity here to reinvigorate a whole new concept for earth stewardship is a real honor and a pleasure to be involved with, and I look forward to our 2nd year. I am now about to take myself off this screen and pass this to Trinity. And Trinity, where does the little thingy go for the next picture? What do you have to do? She's done. Yeah.
Okay, hello, my name is Trinity. I am one of the fellows in this wonderful, wonderful program, and I am extremely happy to be here today. This is something I never thought I'd be able to do, not because I wasn't able to, just as this isn't an opportunity that I was ever presented with in my life so early in my life, and I am very grateful to be here. So I joined this program kind of by accident. I was actually invited in by one of the speakers who spoke, which was Sherry Chen, and she thought I'd be a great fit. Luckily, everyone else thought so too, and it's taken off from there. I started farming pretty amateurly in middle school. I joined an after-school program mostly because my mom could never pick me up early and I just needed something to fill the time. But eventually I just really grew a love for it. And I was the only one who actually fell in love with flowers. I guess I'm not really sure why. It's something that's just always stuck with me. It's something that I've always loved, something I've always enjoyed seeing, and it's something I definitely enjoy growing. And now that I've had this opportunity, it is something that I have fallen in love with even more. I always wanted to take farming seriously, but I've never really gotten the opportunity to. I just mostly focused on school and, working and stuff. But I just really needed a push, honestly, to finally start taking that part of myself seriously. And this program has more than done that for me. I also wanted to be able to learn from real people, which is really hard, especially in the neighborhoods that I grew up in. It's not often that you'll just run into someone in their front yard farming, or that anyone would have a front yard. So being able to go to other people's real sites and learn what they've been doing, see the techniques, and take that back has been eye-opening. It's been incredible. And I've learned more than I can process, honestly, at one time. I also learned about value-added products. For the most part, I grew flowers for fun, and then they most likely just, oh, sorry, I saw the thing. They most likely just, die over the winter. But I've been experimenting with different things. I sowed bouquets a few years ago at a farm stand that was set up. And while people loved them, I didn't have enough confidence in myself to continue that because just of my personal opinions. So with that, I started getting back into that. I started growing more and exploring different options. And I have honestly broken boundaries that I don't know why I placed on myself. And it's been definitely an experience. With that, I also learned different ways of farming. So one of my beds that I have at Melrose Acres was actually aquaculted for a few years, and I didn't even know what that was. But I was actually able to dig into the plastic and plant, and that has kept weeds down tremendously. I wish I could show you because it is beyond bloomed. Everything has grown perfectly, and I would do that every year if I could, because weeds have been a bit of a hassle with flowers. As far as what I have accomplished, I grew one sunflower, which may seem bad, but I planted many, so many, and I had a real problem with deer. And I actually learned through a podcast, I wish I could remember the name, of letting weeds grow, which it kind of killed me inside because I didn't like seeing weeds all over in my garden, but I did. And I went here this morning and there were 4 more. So that's something I would have never thought to do if I hadn't had this experience, is just letting the earth take over sometimes, because you don't always have to be in control, even though you may really want to, but sometimes just letting things go will provide you with more than you need. And with that, I've learned to be so open-minded with different techniques, and I can't really explain it. So my goals for next year would be maintaining this garden. I am still in the beginning stages of being a farmer. This isn't something that I plan on letting go. I just think that it's harder for urban farmers, definitely, because there's so many things to take into consideration, especially when you're not planting food. You may think, it's not really worth the time, but it is something that's worth the time. It's worth getting up early in the morning. It's worth getting your hands dirty, and it's definitely worth exploring and listening to other people's opinions when it comes to it. So I've explored more than I ever thought I would, and it has brought me so much success, however little it may seem. it has been a huge success for me, and I have been extremely happy with the results. I plan to broaden my range, so I actually do plan to broaden into actual food production eventually. I haven't had much luck with it thus far, but I plan to definitely get into it because this past summer, these past 25 weeks, I think that I've learned more than most people my age. And I think, I don't want to brag, but I think I have way more knowledge. The different techniques I've learned is something I didn't even think were possible. And I plan to apply that in my life. This is something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. And I hope that as time goes on, I don't forget anything that I've learned. And also, I hope that I get more people involved with this. It's been a tough road because little people don't like it. When you say farming, you think of the tilling and the kind of like abuse of the land and not really the giving back part, the calming part, the part that feels rewarded in yourself. So I hope to get more people involved and just share what I've learned. And with that, I'm going to pass this back to Kanisha. Thank you so much for listening.
Hi, okay, so I want to just thank our supporters in the program. Let me get to that slide. Excuse me. Okay, so here we go. So we want to just thank our partners and supporters in the program. The Nature Conservancy and Central State University worked on the grant that provided us with the funding to be able to have this program this year. So big thanks to them, because without that, I mean, without their support and partnership on this, we wouldn't have been able to have this program. So thank you to them. Also, thank you to all of these wonderful people who presented on different topics in regards to farming, all of the farmers, and farms that opened their space to have us come and learn from them and see their spaces and see what they are doing. So thank you to all these people. As you can see, there are many, and it's been such a wonderful thing to be able to learn from people who've been doing this for several years and hearing about their successes and failures. You know, they were very honest with us in how they got to where they are. So we really appreciate their support and partnership with us this year. So there are several farmer training programs around the country. Here are a few listed here in Ohio. Central State University Extension has a program that they also started around the same time as we did. The Rid-All Green Partnership in Cleveland, Ohio also has a program. And then the Ohio Farming Association, basically OFA. They also have a beginning farmer program as well as other beginning farmer resources available. So if you're not familiar with OFA and you live in Ohio, check them out. If you don't live in Ohio, I'm sure your area has a similar organization, and they may also provide these resources to people who are wanting to get into farming. And also, hopefully you had the opportunity to listen to one of our keynote speakers, Leah Penniman, who wrote the book Farming While Black. And she has a wonderful list that she put together of BIPOC-led farming trainings nationwide, all around the country. And so if you have that book, you can check out those pages there. If not, you can check it out at your library, or, you know, better yet, purchase the book. And she has a lot of different resources available in that book. And now we are ready for question and answer. So the moderator will take it from here, and thank you.
All right. So I haven't seen anyone post any questions. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. Oh, here we go. Robin's wondering, how did you specifically recruit BIPOC participants?
One minute here. Yeah, so thank you for that question. The program this year, in its pilot year, we invited participants that supported, that we already had a relationship with in the community, or that supported the grant process with generous letters of recommendation. Coming up in the next year, we're looking at an application process. And that way more folks will be able to apply. Now that we finished our pilot year, we'll have some things figured out in that way. So welcome folks through an application process. Any other questions?
Hi, Kat, would you talk a little bit about the next year in terms of what the current fellows are going to be doing to assist with training of other people?
Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me pass the screen here.
Hey, this is OC here. Yeah, for the second year for me will be about training both the board at Edgemont about regenerative practices. We're on former industrial land, and the clay, I think we could make pottery out of it. It's so thick. So we are in the process of understanding how to loosen that soil, that river silt is compacted just like clay, and that we need some sand and some compost. We've been blessed to have relationships that were established through the fellowship with other people in the county and surrounding counties that can donate goods to us. It helps us keep our costs down. We have about 2.5 acres of land that's filled with industrial rock and scrabble. We've had a successful growing season for some things, but we know that enriching our soil will make things better. Next year, we also will not have the issues that we had with the groundhogs, who tried to eat up everything the first 2 months of the program, because our rodent fence is now in place. Next year will also be an opportunity for Greater Edgemont Community Coalition to begin to establish and nurture the West Dayton Growers Association, which we hope we will have a collective of young stewards who will be able to help us with our sustainability plan. As all of us on the board are over 60, we are looking for the new generation that will step up and carry on this legacy that was established in 1978. So bigger and better things, upward and onward.
All right, so our next question is the program for Ohio only? I am in Northern Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati, Ohio Metropolitan Tri-State Region.
Yeah, okay, I can answer that question. So the Regenerative Farmer Fellowship, as it stands right now, is located in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I would say, I believe that the Cincinnati area also has some beginning farmer training programs that you might want to look into. You might want to contact OFA to see if they have some links in that area that they could direct you to. But you are also welcome to apply. And if you want to make the drive to Yellow Springs, Ohio, you are more than welcome to. But in case you want to stay closer to where you are, I would check with OFA. And I also just wanted, since I'm on the screen right now, I see that there is a question asking me to talk about the land access workshop that's coming up. So for those of you who are interested, we are planning the Agraria Center for Regenerative Practice along with the Black Farming Network, which the network formed out of the result of last year's Black Farming Conference and Central State University Extension. We are collaborating to offer a land access workshop. That workshop will be held on Saturday, October 23rd from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. There will be virtual and in-person locations here throughout Montgomery County, Greene County, and Clark County. So more information will be coming about that. So visit our website, the Agraria website, to see more information about that. But the workshop is going to be held in 2 sessions. So the first session will cover how to prepare yourself to purchase or lease land. And then the second half of it, we're going to be talking about how to actually access land. So we have speakers from the USDA, Farm Commons, which provides legal services for farmers, legal resources. We have the Montgomery County and Clark County land banks who will be here to speak with us as well as other speakers. So if you are available, please join us on that day. We would love to have you. And I think the information that we're going to share on that day is going to be very beneficial for those who are looking to purchase or lease their own growing spaces.
All right, so we have another 2 minutes. Anyone have any quick questions that they want to throw in here? Feel free to also say any comments.
Oh, sorry. I just like to say congratulations to all the fellows and to Kat and Kanisha for such a great start to a really important program. Really so pleased with all the energy and love that's been put into the program this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Susan, for mentioning that. We appreciate it. I did also want to, if we have a quick minute, someone asked what was our second year goal. So I wanted to mention that for the program, for the 6 fellows in the cohort right now, I think it might have been mentioned, but we are going to be doing skill shares from November through February. And those skill shares will primarily be skill shares, sharing out the skills that we've learned in this program with the community. So that is something that we felt was very important for us to do, is to take the knowledge that we've learned through this program and then share it out to people in our community. So that's what we'll be doing as we are shifting into bringing in a new cohort for the 2022 season.